For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. This is known as the universal law. It's also known as the law of laws. It's also known as the law of the farm. I would call it the law of the garden. It's the law of sowing and reaping. Don't be deceived. Don't be confused. Don't trick yourself. Don't fool yourself. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Which means if you don't like what you're reaping right now, you might want to go find some new seed. Because everything that you have in your life today is the result of seeds you've sown in the past. And everything you're going to have in your life in the future is based on seeds that you've sown in the past and ones that you're sowing in the present. So if you desire a different harvest, sow a different seed. The principle of sowing and reaping is the scientific principle of inputs and outputs. The key to success in life, how you gonna make 2024 your best year ever? Let me tell you how you're not gonna do it. You ain't gonna do it by trying harder. I'm gonna work harder at what's not working and then I'm gonna be more successful. No, you're gonna be more tired. You're not gonna be more successful. But the way to have more success in 2024 than you've ever had in your past is to change the inputs from the past. Change the seed and the harvest will automatically change. Okay, we going somewhere. Most people, when they think of this verse, they think of it negatively. Like, if you do a bad deed, it's going to reap a bad harvest. Yeah, it will. But if you do a good deed, it's going to reap a good harvest. That's the context. How do I know? Well, look what it says in verse 8. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit, of the Spirit shall reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing. Let's don't get tired of doing good. Why? Because in due season, we shall reap if we faint not. Here's what it said. Don't get tired of doing good, because when harvest time comes, we will reap if we don't quit. Some people quit because seed time is not harvest time. But I've been sowing and I haven't reaped yet. Right, but here's the thing. You don't know when harvest time is. God knows that. Everything is beautiful in his time. There's a time to sow, there's a time to reap. There's a time to build, there's a time to tear down that which has been built. There's a time to plant, there's a time to pluck up that which has been planted. There's a time to heal, there's a time to kill. What? See, every season has its own reason. And see, we think that we get to determine the season. I don't get to determine the season. Here's what I get to do. Sow the seed and cultivate the seed until God brings the harvest. I love what Jim Rohn used to say. Jim Rohn used to say, God said, you plant the seed, I'll grow the tree. He said, aren't you glad? He didn't say, I'll plant the seed, you grow the tree. How do you grow a tree? I don't know how to grow a tree. But here's what I do know how to do. I know how to sow a seed. I don't know how to produce an outcome. I just know how to put in an input. This is why I don't set goals. This is why I don't do New Year's resolutions. This is why I don't turn over a new leaf. Some of y'all done turned over a whole orchard full of trees, a leaf, and still in the same place where you were when you turned over your first leaf.